All right, guys, fire away. Let's get this done.
Well, I think that Nate had a stat that after a loss, your average victory margin is like, what, 22.3 or something?
Pay no mind. I mean, it's a non-topic. We got our ass kicked last game. We're coming to play in a team that's really good. And I knew they were going to be good all summer. Colorado's got a great program, and I mean, they got a really well-built team, and it's going to be a real challenge.
Well, do you find, though, is it a chance, especially when you have a few days like this, to guys really lock in maybe a little bit more after a game like that?
I mean, Bruce, if you don't try to lock in more, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, I don't got any magic potion. I just know we didn't play well last weekend against a team that did play really well, and we've moved on, and we're obviously, I don't know, do we address things, whatever. We had like a normal week of preparation, and we've lost games before, and I'm sure we'll lose them again, and we just know we're prepared to play a really good Colorado team in a big game.
Won those two games against the Washington Schools without a couple starters. Does that impress you even more?
Listen, they're really good. They're really good all around. They got a great group of experienced guys. They obviously added Cody Williams, who's a really young, talented freshman. I don't know if he's going to play or not, but they have a really, good group of experienced players, and they've been together for a long time. And this looking like it could be one of those teams where they could have a real special season.
Show you differently about Sunday's game that you weren't able to maybe see from the sideline? Maybe it's about defensive rotations or just kind of what happened on defense.
I mean, we played a team that, maybe our sense of urgency wasn't enough, but, they hit a lot of tough individual shots to kind of get going. And then, we probably panicked a little bit defensively and maybe got too active, or every little adjustment I tried, they picked it apart and made a three at the end of it. And I mean, it was, you tip your hats to them. They played really well.
Beyond that game, you had mentioned that the perimeter defense hasn't been good for multiple games now. When you watch the film, is there a common thread in that? Is it effort? Is it?
I mean, you could probably find a bunch of things. I don't know if there's one common thread. At the end of the day, it comes down to want to. You got to want to do great there, and then you have to have the discipline to execute a plan. And for long stretches this year, we just kind of lost our way a little bit, and we'll have to see if we can get it back.
Think about teaching defense. A lot of times it starts with the shell or it starts with on ball, and it feels like you guys are.
Okay, here's you guys. Stop. You guys make a lot. We got our ass kicked last game by a team that was on fire. Okay. You know what? Going into that game, we were the second-ranked defense in the country. So I mean, I don't know if it's broke. We'll figure it out, and we'll see how it is tomorrow. And if it isn't tomorrow, I'll just have to keep working on it. We're not approaching it any different than we have before, and we don't need to get into philosophical deals and start questioning. Well, do we start with a shell drill? Do we start with this ball screen coverage? Going into the game, we had the second-rated defense in the country, and we got torched. So now we need to step up and see where we're at. I mean, obviously the plan was okay up to that point. I mean, if you had the 202nd ranked defense in the country, you could ask me any philosophical question you want. And then, now you and I could go to Bob Dobbs, get out some napkins, and we could talk about, you could help me with how I want to start my base defense, and I'd probably be all ears.
I was going to insinuate into that. I was saying, since your guys are such strong on-ball defenders, and you see that in the first half against Cal, what does it take to get the rotation or get their willingness to help at the same energy level that they're on?
I mean, it just takes consistent effort, and you got to be great on the ball. You got to be great off the ball.
So what you're saying maybe is it you think the schemes and the things were there, but maybe just
No.
effort lacked a little.
No, the scheme wasn't there. The effort wasn't there.
You mentioned a little bit after the game about getting Polius an opportunity, and it looked like he made the most of it, especially with being able to have that. You haven't really had a big man like that stretches the floor and shoots the three as well in the previous 2 years. What does that do in terms of changing the offense?
Well, Polius he's an interesting player. He's got some real strengths and he's got some weaknesses that he's got to address if he wants to be a great all around player. And he's young, So we'll see in time, over time, how he develops. But there's no doubt he has a real talent. He has some real strengths, and we'll see, if we can tap into those strengths.
When you have a player, Kylan's been struggling a little bit. How do you kind of handle that? Do you just say
It's part of the deal. It's your guys' place, dirtbags. It's part of growing up. You just hang with them. You hang with them, and you help them, and you love them.
You mentioned that nothing's guaranteed to the starters. That so a lot of the rotation, or some of the rotation players are getting some more action. How have you seen them respond this week in practice?
I mean, practices were fine this week. You know, our practice was fine, and you would, hopefully they would be after what we just went through. So, but guys, I know you guys haven't had a chance to talk to me, and you guys are like picking at the scab a little bit. We've moved on. We're 100% focused on Colorado. I have not said one thing about Stanford in 48 hours. You guys can scheme about all you want. I have to move on. Our team has to move on, and we got a really good team. If we would have won by 20 or lost by 20, tomorrow's game is going to be hard. So that's 100% where my focus is.
What is it about Colorado that makes them so good?
They got really good players, and they got a good scheme, and they're experienced. They've been together, and that they're a team that's kind of been building to this. You could see it building for a couple years. They've added some really good pieces to a good core, and they got good depth. They got good guard play. They got good bigs. They're just an impressive outfit. To me, they look like one of the stronger teams in the country, and I felt like that going in the offseason too.
You look at KJ Simpson last year versus this year. Why do you think he's made such a big jump?
He just continues to get better. He just continues to get better. He's a dynamic guard. He can run their offense. He can play with great pace. He can score. He can pass. And you could just see he has a supreme confidence about him. He's a really good player.
You guys had a great home. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Oh, he said he had a really good conversation with you at media day. I didn't know, what that relationship's been like, because it was kind of.
Listen, that was so fast, and listen, it was probably a lot. Things were probably a lot more. He was probably a lot more focused on his situation. I was focused on a lot bigger situation, and he's a really good player. And you know what? He obviously made a great choice for himself, and I'm really happy for him. I'm really happy for Colorado. We've been fine. The last couple years, and it's just looked a situation where it kind of worked out for both. But it was never anything where I didn't think KJ Simpson was a really good player. It's just hard. You get a job, the kid signs with another staff. That's a tricky situation for a lot of people to work out, and then you have to rebuild a whole roster. Things happen fast, and he picked a perfect place for him, and he's a perfect player for them, and he's playing really well.
What do you make of Eddie Lampkin, and are there any advantages of a guy like Umar going against him 2 years ago?
Eddie Lampkin's a really good basketball player. We saw the best of Eddie Lampkin. He had a 20-point, 20-rebound double-double against us in the NCAA tournament. He's a really good basketball player. He plays with great energy. He's got a great feel for the game. He's impressive. He's an impressive player.
Murph said you're going to assume that De Silva and Williams play. But if De Silva doesn't play because of what he does, so many different things, does that make them different? Do you kind of have to prepare for that too?
They have really good players. I think whoever they roll out there, they're going to be really comfortable, and they're going to be really good. And obviously De Silva's a dynamic player. He's really experienced now. He's playing well inside. He's playing well outside. So I'm sure their preference would be to have him, but whether they have him or not, or whether he's at 100% or not, they're still going to be a really good team. So we're preparing the same way. We don't have two sheets of preparation, with De Silva and without De Silva playing. So just a really good player, and whoever they plug in there, it's going to be a really good player.
You guys had a great home atmosphere in Phoenix, but you haven't played here in McHale in a month. What's it going to be like having a 2-game weekend here?
It's going to be awesome. Hey, the scheduling kind of broke how it broke, and you never want to be away from home that long. It's going to be good to be back home, and I think we need a little home cooking. But hey, I have no regrets for the schedule we're played, and it's just kind of a tough hop when you play a tough December schedule and you end up with your first 2 conference games on the road, and but that's also a great opportunity to go win them. You go win 2 road games right away, and you kind of put yourself in good position. You don't, you're probably right where you should be. So I'm comfortable with where we're at, and we just got to have a great effort tomorrow.
One more question.
Did you guys take Monday off? You don't have to, right, because you're not in school, or did you go?
I can't remember. What does it matter if we did or didn't, Bruce? We got a really hard game. Bruce, do you think we took Monday off after the way we played on a Sunday? Okay, there we go. We of course we came in, and we might not have ran him into the ground, but of course, we got to get better. We're like everybody else. We got to get better.
Jason, last one.
Are you the type of coach where do you ever just throw out the film, just say, we played like crap, let's move on to the next game? Or
I don't think you throw, I don't make too much of it. I don't make too much of it because, at the end of the day, we got to, you got to figure out some whys, and you address those things a little bit. But like I said, we haven't talked about Stanford in a couple of days. We had to move on. We don't have time. We don't have time to sit there and dwell on something that, we didn't do well. And at the end of the day, guys, I tip my hat to Stanford. They played awesome that day. They played really well. The last 2 years we've played them there. Played really well, exceptionally well. I mean, so well to the point, like, sometimes I'm like, how's their record not better? But that's neither here nor there. But they played really well, and we didn't. So, and we probably had something to do with them playing well. They probably, had something to do with us not playing well. And it's just kind of how it went that day. So I'm excited for tomorrow. I'm looking for a great effort from our guys, and win or lose, we're gonna keep plugging away. Thanks, guys.